Hi, everyone. Because today, the 13th of September, is Dante's 702nd death anniversary, I'm going to be doing a video about a Dantean topic, which I haven't done for way, way too long, and I'm really happy to get back to it. This is based off of today's blog post called When Exactly Was Dante's Birthday? Because I'm a very big believer in the fact that when we mark somebody's yahrzeit death anniversary, we should, like, first and foremost of all, like, remember how that person lived and the fact that that person did live and was born, not just the fact that that person died. And I'm obviously wearing my replacement medieval costume, as you can see, obviously getting in the medieval mood. And I got some really, really cool earweights I'll be wearing in some future videos when I'm talking about, like Dante and medieval topics. I love, like the dragons and the swords. That's absolutely cool. And this is Dante Bunny. You might have seen my previous community post about it. I named this bunny Dante because he represents epilepsy, and many scholars believe Dante himself had epilepsy or a very, very similar condition. And I am also planning a future video and a blog post about that. And so let's just get down with it. Most historians have long agreed Dante was born in 1265, based on the famous first line of the Divine Comedy, Nel mezzo del cammin di nostra vita, in the middle of the journey of our life, and the poem's 1300 setting. In the Middle Ages, the ideal lifespan was believed to be 70 years, based on what the Bible itself said. Thus, half of 70 is 35, and 1300 minus 35 equals 1265. But when exactly in 1265 was he born? In the absence of a birth certificate, diary entry, or letter, or anything else attesting to the specific date. In Chapter 2 of La Vita Nuova, set on Calendario Maggio, May Day, 1274, Dante states, 9 times already since my birth, the heaven of light had circled back to almost the same point. In the heliocentric understanding of the universe, that means the sun had made almost 9 full circles around the earth since his birth. From any day later than May Day in 1265 to May Day 1274 was just shy of 9 such revolutions. Thus, Dante was 8 and about to turn 9. That would also seem to suggest, if he were truly born in May 1265, he was actually 34 during his fictional otherworldly journey. The poem is set from very late on Maundy Thursday, though most people claim it is Good Friday, to Bright Monday, which is a day after Easter, which in the year 1300 spanned the dates the 25th to the 29th of March. However, as demonstrated by that same line, it seems medieval people could measure their age in spans of years, as confusing as that seems to in the modern era. Dante had been alive for 35 years, even if his actual age was still technically 34. When he says he met Beatrice near the end of his 9th year, he's not talking about approaching his 10th birthday, but measuring his lived years more literally than we are used to in the modern era. We also know Dante was a Gemini, since he mentioned both his sun sign and his May birth date many times, both in his works and comments to other people. He even gave his birth date as late May on his deathbed, when he also stated his age as 56. The modern dates for Gemini are the 21st of May to the 21st of June, but in the Middle Ages, each sign was assigned to its own month, and May was Gemini's month. Dante was crazy about the number 9, which is my second favorite number, constantly encountering it in his life, using it in his works in one way or another, and finding personal connections to it, even if the connections, they just seem so specious, like he's kind of just, going out of his way to look for something to say, oh, look, here's yet another example of the letter 9 occurring in my life or in the life of, like, someone I love, like Beatrice, or like a book I'm reading, or just something else, or someone else who's really, really special to me. Like, he was absolutely obsessed with the number 9, which you should know if you've read pretty much any of his works. He wouldn't have missed the opportunity to point out, many times probably knowing him, he was born on the 9th of May, but it seems more likely he was born in late May, based on his own words, speculations of scholars, and statements from people who knew him, or people who lived a little bit after him, or who did live in his own lifetime but never personally met him, but had access to people who had known him, like, for example, Giovanni Boccaccio, who wrote the very first biography of Dante and went around interviewing lots of people who had, been in Dante's life and obviously knew, like, firsthand all this information. Although, of course, many people have criticized Boccaccio's biography because it does engage in a lot of hero worship and kind of, like, making stuff up or urban legends or stuff. But again, in the Middle Ages, many people just genuinely didn't know better. That's you kind of have to accept that like exaggerations and like half truths and stuff at least some of the time. If you're reading any like medieval biography or work of historical nonfiction, it was just, it comes with the territory of that era. Since many authorities across the centuries have believed Dante was born in late May, it would be such perfect hashgacha pratit, divine providence, if his birth date were the 27th of May, which many scholars also, like in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance and such, have like speculated could very well have been his birth date. On that day in 1865, his long missing bones finally turned up 346 years after they disappeared, found by two masons working on a wall in a Franciscan convent in Ravenna. And I would highly recommend the book Dante's Bones by Guy Raffa to use, guys. It talks about, the discovery of the bones, why they went missing in the first place, and like their basically hero worship and treatment and display over the centuries, and how they were saved from, God forbid, being like bombed or stolen by the Nazis during World War II. It's absolutely a totally epic tale about, Dante's afterlife was just as colorful as his like personal life, just like, life imitating art, like in the Divine Comedy. Also, the two numbers in 27 make 9 when added together. Numerology often reduces large numbers to smaller ones by adding each number together. That's how my own master life number in Western numerology, 11, is derived, and that is derived, you derive your personal like life number in Western numerology by adding all the numbers in your birth date together and just keep reducing and reducing them until you get down to a single digit or one of the few like 2-digit numbers that cannot be reduced under numerology rules. Like for example, 11 is one of those numbers. You can't like add 1 plus 1 equals 2 because 11 is its own number in Western numerology, and that's one of the main reasons why I love it so much, and it's my personal lucky number because like it's one of like said to be one of the most auspicious like numbers you can have in numerology. 11 is awesome. But wait, there's more. Prior to 1582, all of Europe used the Julian calendar, which was based on a year lasting 365.25 days. However, in actual practice, the year lasted about 365.2422 days, which meant it was increasingly out of sync with the Earth's orbit as more and more time passed. The most pressing reason for reforming the existing calendar in the eyes of the Catholic authorities was to avoid erroneous calculations of the date of Easter, which is supposed to fall out on the Sunday after the ecclesiastical full moon of about the 21st of March, in other words, the vernal equinox. European scholars knew about this increasing calendar drift since the early Middle Ages. Even Dante himself understood the need for calendrical reform. By the 20th century, when the last few straggler countries finally adopted the modern Gregorian calendar, like Russia, the Russian Empire, and the Ottoman Empire were pretty much the last two holdouts. They like finally like made the transition in 1917, 1918. The Julian calendar was a full 13 days behind that of the Gregorian. The new calendar was first adopted in October 1582 and dropped 10 days from the year. October was chosen as its debut because that avoided skipping any major religious festivals, and it's a whole other subject, like when each like specific country in Europe and the rest of the world decided to adopt the Gregorian calendar. Most of the Catholic countries went first, like most of them were like around 1582 and 83, but a couple of them still held out a bit longer, and the Protestant countries were quite a bit later mostly to make the switch, and finally the Orthodox countries and the Muslim world that was part of Europe were the very, very last, as I mentioned, the Ottoman Empire and the Russian Empire. The calendars were a week apart by the 13th century, in other words, 7 days, when Dante was born. If he were born on a date he knew as the 27th of May, his corrected birth date would be the 3rd of June, and thus displace him from his Gemini status under medieval conception of the zodiac. It would make him a Cancer by modern practice. On the flip side, if his Gregorian birth date were the 27th of May, the Julian date he would have known would be the 20th of May, and I will leave a link down below in the description box to a really cool site which lets you convert dates back and forth. There are also a couple of other like Julian Gregorian conversion websites I found, but unfortunately they require a lot of kind of complicated math to do it. So, and this is basically you just like plug in the dates from the Dropbox. I went with the 27th of May on the Julian calendar for his birth date in my alternative history, based on how 2 plus 7 makes like his lucky number 9. The frequently supposed late May, or even like some authorities do believe it actually really was the 27th of May, and the date his bones were found. Thank you very much for watching to the end. If you have any suggestions for future Dantean videos, leave that down below in the comments box. I would love to hear what you guys have suggested for me, and I will see you again in the next